esports, trying to find what angle they can, trying to find somebody out of position.
We're gonna go through on this. Oh, what a whoa! White gonna go in.
It's going to be a really, really interesting one.
Oh my god. All of this competition could be so damn close, so I cannot wait for us to finally decide who's going to be the champion. We are expecting some chaos, some great moments.
Beast Mode has killed 3. Only gonna really need that rampage, so it's gonna clear it out. Santi gonna get themselves a big old 4K. Santi getting rid of 3, clearing out the house.
That is crazy.
Nunji actually kills 3 people.
This team feels entirely different on this faster composition. Now Saga before he's hanging around, getting onto the high ground. Post bomb's gonna stick under Leaky. They're not gonna be able to survive it at the end of the day. Blue manages to find a 3K.
Rio shoving this Lana into a corner. Woo! One more for the road for Rio.
That is all signs go. Melophobia with 3 Melophobia. Start the fight. They'll end the fight. Oh my god. Beagle Bus, they have to play aggressively into this energy. Popping off in a moment where you needed just that. Ruby in that backline. Oh, the flick. Looking for it. Oh my goodness. The fourth one as well. Do they get the ace? They get the ace. All right, everybody, welcome back to CGL for an After Dark playoff game in the NA Masters tier. Sort of Skilled versus Celestial Knights is on the docket here tonight. Now, Sort of Skilled, they have been the cream of the crop in this tier the entire season long, only dropping 2 maps, while Celestial Knights getting a little bit of an upset win over Shoebill Nation in that first round. My name is Dextron. That is Vert. Vert, we have a great series on our hands here tonight.
Yes, we do, and I can't think of a better name rather than a midnight or so. I think you said After Dark Overwatch game because it is very late Eastern time over here. But I'm very excited to watch the game tonight and see what both of these teams have to offer.
Absolutely. Well, we have a great game going on here tonight. There's a lot of action going on around CGL and as well with Kunoichi Cavalry. The grand finals tomorrow. You're not going to want to miss that. It's been really fun to watch Kunoichi this tournament, and the grand finals tomorrow are sure to be a banger. But you know, Kunoichi is not the only thing we have coming up here on the docket. Copa America is here on May 16th, just about a couple weeks away now. It will be broadcasted in 3 languages, English, Portuguese, and Spanish, and you see it right there. Peru, Brazil, Chile, and Argentina are going to be represented in it. That should be a really, really fun time to watch that. You're not going to want to miss. Again, that starts on May 16th. It is going to be a blast. But Vert, going back over to our game here tonight, Sora Skilled, like I said, #1 overall seed, hasn't dropped the series all season long, and you look at some of the other games that happened today, we've seen a lot of 3 Overwatch. RRG Varsity did drop 1 map, the Big T-Tar Fan 600, in our game at 8 p.m. tonight, but they're still able to come out on top. We've had a lot of action here today in CGL.
We have, and you were talking about the dominance of Sort of Skilled. I think they've only dropped 2 maps all season, at least within the regular season. And, you know, looking at this bracket as we're going into it, I mean, like you mentioned, Celestial Knights getting the upset over Shoebill Nation, so to speak. We'll have to see if they can recreate some of that magic. Celestial Knights is actually a team that I've scrimmed against, so I know they're very talented, but I mean, you can't go against Sort of Skilled, you know, given the fact they only dropped 2 maps. You have to think it goes in their favor, but one thing I like to say, playoffs, the record is 0-0. So right now, both these teams are 1-0 respectively, and we'll have to see who comes out on top tonight as we go into the semifinals game.
Yeah, and you look at the bracket here, like you said, this bracket has already brought us a lot of upsets. Celestial Knights, we talked about winning over Shoebill Nation, but Fellowship Esports, they have been my favorite story in this bracket so far. The 8th seed, beating Silvok Lovers, almost beating Low Ground Maine. I mean, that Fellowship Esports team is coming alive at the right time here. However, down in the lower bracket now, so they have 1 more life left to go here. Sort of Skill and Celestial Knights, though, our game here tonight. Winner will go on to face Low Ground Maine in the grand finals. But, I mean, we have a great series on our hands here. These 2 teams, like I said, very, very good. They did recently meet, though, all the way back in week 6 of the regular season, and Sora Skilled did come out on top of that one in a 3-0 fashion. So you're really looking at it here, if you're Sora Skilled, to kind of copy that exact same thing here, get this 3-0 sweep, move on to the winners finals here. But Vert, we do know what our first map of the night is. And if you know anything about these kind of tournaments, you know where we're going to be going. It is Lijiang Tower.
Lijiang, I feel like it's kind of a staple and like just not even tournament spay, but just kind of like Overwatch lore at this point. Anytime I think of like a close game or a close map between two teams, I think of either King's Row or Scrim's Row or Lijiang Tower. And so yeah, kind of a staple. I like Lijiang because I feel like you could run a variety of compositions. We see a lot of Brawl, a lot of Death Ball. A lot of teams run some of the Pharah, some of the. I mean, even if you're like daring, I know us at Solar, we like to run some pocketed Pharah sometimes. So there's time you can do that. You can also run Hazard. You can run Winston Dive. So I guess we will have a better idea at what our compositions will look like as we go into these hero bans. And like I said, I mean, depending on which band sort of skill goes for, will give us a better idea of what kind of composition they're wanting to run. If you're wanting to run the Pharah, maybe you ban a hit scan, and they're not wanting to play against Ramattra. So, what do you think about this Ramattra ban next?
I mean, I like it. I always say, if you have the first ban, you should either be going after support or that tank line. And Sora's Guild getting out the Ramattra here early on, it makes me think that they believe the Celestial Knights are going to be favoring that Ramattra and want to put them on a little bit of a weaker character for their tank pool here. But Celestial Knights, they have this next ban here, and I always like to lean support here. I mean, you still have Juno, Kiriko. I feel like those are two very common bans we see in map 1 for a lot of series. I would not be surprised if we see one of them come out here.
Yeah, I mean, especially if you're wanting to avoid that brawl, like getting rid of the Ramattra, maybe you ban the Lucio, maybe you ban the Juno, and that would basically force both teams off of that brawl, which is what Lijiang's for, and we would see more of like niche, maybe more compositions that fit the strategy that they're wanting to run. As they're on the clock here, they're gonna go with the Juno. So I was kind of on the margin a little bit there. I definitely think with this Juno ban and with the Ramattra ban, we're gonna be seeing. You might see the Winston, Lucio, Kiriko dive. You might see, Lucio, Kiriko, JQ rush. So there's still a good variety of comps there, but this tells me, Dex, they're not wanting to run that hard indoors in your face ball as accustomed with like a Ramattra or even a Hazard maybe, getting rid of the Juno. So I know we haven't seen a lot of Hazard lately, but these bans are definitely telling of that. So I'm very curious to see what kind of compositions we get as we go into the map.
Yeah, you haven't seen a lot of Hazard lately, but they have slowly started to come back up here. There have been a couple playoff series I've watched here on CGL where we have seen that Hazard, rear their head every now and then. But, we've talked about the bans, we've talked about the maps. Why don't we introduce you to the teams here tonight, starting off with your number 1 overall seed of Sort of Skilled. You have Hoxie, Voxie, and Dub on that DPS line. They call them M on that tank line, and Ligmatos and Beryl as your support line here. I mean, this team has been incredibly scary all season long in this tier, basically ruling over it with an iron fist. You cannot really say much more about this team. They are dominant.
Yeah, no, I mean, literally you can't say much. They've only dropped 2 maps all season. Hoxie Voxie, very talented DPS. I know that because I've run into them. Console comp, very very popular community. But moving on to Celestial Knights here in a moment as we shift teams for a second. I am losing my train of thought. Sliding for a second. I just
Celestial Knights,
sometimes. Sorry, go ahead.
Celestial Knights coming off that upset win in round 1 against Shoebill Nation, who I really looked at being one of those teams that might have been able to say something to Sora Skilled here early on, but because they lost, you cannot really count them out. Moonlights, Anex on that DPS line, Master Yano on that tank, Bananas and Hope, that support line. Again, I mean, getting that upset win, they have been coming into this game with a huge chip on their shoulder.
Yeah, and like I said, playoffs 0-0, and you were talking about it with Fellowship, almost taking low ground, the number 2 seed in this tier. They took him to the map 5, they almost won. you have to look at this if you're Celestial Knights and think, yeah, Sword of Skill, they've been dominant all season, but you know, not to sound cliche, but the harder, the taller they are, the harder they fall. And so, yeah, I mean, like you said, chip on your shoulder, but the way I see it is you're the lower seed, so you're kind of being expected to lose. So in a way, you're not playing with any pressure. It's kind of sort of skill that has to perform because you don't want to be the team that loses to Celestial Knights. You don't want to be the team that is dominant all season just to get knocked down into the lower bracket. So only time will tell, in my opinion. I think if you're the higher seed, you have a little bit more pressure to perform. So we'll have to see how how those kind of mind games play as we get into map 1 here, and see which compositions both teams want to run here.
Yep, we'll be starting off on Night Market, and I mean, if you were gonna look at any map that you could potentially play a lot of different variety of compositions, this would be the one map. You could see Dive, you could see Rush, Brawl, Poke, you could see a lot of stuff on here. It looks like Sword of Skilled, they at least want to start off on the Dive.
Yes, and I was kind of expecting this. You get rid of the Ramatra. Ramatra's slow is actually very good into Winston, at least in some of these tight corridors maps. So coming out on the Winston with Lucio Kiriko, that makes sense to me. As for Celestial Knights, you're gonna run kind of a standardized brawl comp, very death volley. You want to live with that Orisa. That Lucio Kiriko is very fast, very good in their face. We'll have to see if they stick on the Symmetra here. It's kind of an interesting pick, and it looks like they're going to, Dex.
And I like this from Celestial Knights. You coming up with this Orisa, you want to just bunker on the point here, and that's exactly what Master Rhino is going to do right here. They're just going to try to keep Sword Skilled off as long as they can. They have those turrets that are really just buy space, and you already see they call him M very low on health, and the Javelin Spin actually pushed them away from their team. Moonlight's going to be able to find them there, and this is exactly the start that Celestial Knights was looking for here. Look at what Sword Skilled's doing, already backing up.
Yeah, and they call him saying that he sucks in chat. Maybe trying to shake off the nerves a little bit here, but that is exactly what you want to do if you're Celestial Knights. You want to force the fight onto the point because you have the better survivability, as you mentioned. And Sword of Skill, if they're going to want to play this Winston comp, they're going to want to set up dives, which is what they're doing right now.
I mean, that's exactly what you said right there. Annex falling right there. Great pick off because that allows the rest of the team to kind of play freely. Moonlight's still going to be able to find one. You do trade on Hope and Dub, though. Bananas falls there as well. Sword Skilled has a slight advantage. Hoxie Boxy going to be able to find their counterpart. And once they get rid of Master Rhino here, the point should flip. So Sword Skilled, a little bit of a sluggish first fight with Column M dying first, but they come right back in and find everything they're looking for.
That was an excellent dive target, noticing that NX was low and you had to collapse on them as quickly as you could. And with that, Symmetra's setup on the point with, we're going to get a pause here, Dex. But as I was saying, with that Orisa on the point, with the Sim turrets on the, with the turrets on the point, as well as the Orisa, you can't out-sustain that on the Winston comp. You have to look for someone to make a mistake. You need to see resources out, and then you kind of attack and pinch from different angles. And that's exactly what they did. Catching Annex out, and he's already swapped over to the Tracer. Yeah, I mean, I think they played that about as well as they could. I think one thing Celestial needs to be doing better if they want to force this comp is they need to. I don't understand the sense of urgency to take the fight outside of point. Maybe you keep some space, but they got caught on the retreat. Your retreats have to be tight. They have to be clean. You have to stay together. If you're going to win versus that dive comp, you have to use your advantages, which is to sustain and just outlive the healing that sort of skilled support line can do. It looks like we're going back in here, Dex, and we'll see if they can make these adjustments as we go back in.
Yeah, Column M was the person who disconnected. You see him. They have to come back in now from spawn, so Celestial Knights has a slight advantage here, and sort of skilled. It looks like they're just going to have to give up the points. So, I mean, they win a good team fight there, but then immediately have to give it up because of a disconnect. Not a good play from them, but it's not really their fault.
It's not their fault at all. And right now what we're seeing from Sort of Skilled is they're just trying to wait out the resource battle, get cooldowns out as they go on to the dive now, which is what we're seeing.
And Column M, I mean, they're diving in there deep. You have Barrel right there to try to help him out. Looking for the boop kills as well, because Celestial Knights push all the way back there. And you see that off angle right there from the rest of Sora Skill, trying to just chunk down anyone they can. Consumer Rush outs from both sides here. Does Banana decide to invest the beat? Yep, they're going to do it right there. Rhino pops a Terror Surge, but it looks like everyone from Sora Skill is going to be able to get out of it. Column M actually re-engaged into it, and the entirety of Sora Skill down and out of that one. 3 ultimates invested by both sides, but if you're the Celestial Knights, you're loving it.
Yes, that was a really good fight for Celestial Knights because, yeah, you used both of your ults, but so did sort of Skill. They used both of their support ults as well, and you came out on it. This is last fight territory, and now you're forcing sort of Skill to kind of play perfect with Dub switching over to the Genji here.
And the overclock coming out here from Hoxie. They're just looking for anything they can. Dub gonna be able to get rid of Moonlight, which is a huge pick off there because that was the only ultimate ready for Celestial Knights here. But again, the sustain for this team should be able to carry them a little bit. They got the 99%, and if you're them, you're really happy about that. But you're gonna have to give the point back over to Sort of Skilled. And now, though, if you're Sort of Skilled, you can't lose another fight.
And Celestial Knights, knowing that there's only one fight left, they don't need to force that Orisa anymore because the rotations are kind of uncomfortable. Now you can dive a little bit more and look to play those exchanges better. So we'll have to see if this plays out in the favor of Sort of Skilled or Celestial Knights can have a cleaner engages. But right now we're looking at a Primal versus what Moonlight can do on the Soj. We'll have to see if they can do some heads, but Fire will get a little low as they set up a dive here.
And I don't know how I feel about Master Rhino swapping over to this Winston. I feel like the Orisa was doing a very good job. Column M, though, going to be able to dive back just in time to keep themselves alive. Moonlight pops his overclock, but again, that healing is there for M. You do lose Ligmatos out here early, though, if you're Sort of Skilled, and I mean, you have to start investing stuff, and that's exactly what M is going to do here. Here comes a Primal Rage. Rhino looking very worse for health at the moment. Column M, that's a huge pick off right there. They'll also find Annex out there, and Hope, a huge play here for the Winston for Sort of Skilled. Now it's just clean up. The Suzu invested there to keep them alive, but once you get rid of Bananas, I mean, you're looking very good right now if you're Sort of Skilled.
Yes, indeed, and the ultimate economy is kind of favoring Sort of Skilled now as they were able to build more charge off of that with Hope getting picked off a little bit earlier. And I think Colin may have heard what you said on stream, trying to make up for that DC play. Got a 4K at the end there. It's going to be really hard for Celestial Knights to re-engage here with how aggressive Sort of Skilled is playing right now.
And right now, the only thing they have ready is Annex Pulse Bomb, and they have to find something here fast with the Bananas. About to build up to a beat here, which is going to be used to really sustain on point. Ligmatos is going to be investing that Kitsune Rush here early on. There's the beat from Bananas. Annex's Pulse Bomb not going to be able to find anything, but they will find Hoxie after it. Blade, though, from Dub, slicing and just looking for anyone, but they're struggling to, and the rest of their team is dying around them. Kitsune Rush out here from Hope. It's up to M and Dub, but the Primal Rage gets an end off the map, and Celestial Knights going to take the first point of this map.
Whew. We might be in for a close map, close game, Dexatron, because that came down to the wire, 99-99, and I understand what you're saying. The Orisa was working. I can see why they would want to swap, to be completely honest. Just because, you know, the Orisa was forcing weird rotations from you. Bananas was getting picked off a little bit. You couldn't get gauges. You feel like you could dive a little bit cleaner than Sort of Skilled was. And oh my god, the Winston play was phenomenal by Colin for the record. But I must say, what really won them that point at the end was just Annex going on the flank, and yeah, he missed the pulse, but he made up for it with getting a pick on the Hoxie of Hoxie, and then Bananas, I think, got a second pick, and by the time Sort of Skilled was investing the ult advantage they had, they were down 3 people, and Celestial Knights was matching, so both teams, similar compositions as we get on the first point here. Genji over the Tracer, which I like a little bit more, helps with more engages, but both teams are meeting head-on as we get into map 2 decks.
And again, right now, I mean, Celestial Knights in a little bit of a spot here. Dub already has to use that dash just to get out. And look at Sort of Skill. They're just playing very safe at the moment. Column M almost getting punched there for going a little bit too far up. Going to be able to get back to their team, but those healers are having to work overtime just to make sure they can get M back back up to full health here. Celestial Knights now starting to cap the point as you were still waiting for the first pick of this map. Celestial Knights, though, going to be able to cap it up here first. Master Rhino and Moonlight's looking a little bit worse for wear, and Master Rhino maybe just dives in a little bit too far there. Sort of Skilled, one more pick is really all you need here to probably get a point flip.
Yeah, probably one more, and I'm noticing a little bit of hesitancy on the side of Sort of Skilled. I mean, Master Rhino did kind of inch a little there. I'm not gonna lie. But I'm just not seeing a ton of urgency and quickness on the side of Sort of Skilled here.
Oh.
What a boo! Oh.
And that's
yes.
that's a good play there by Burl. Just noticing that Master Rhino had used that jump to try to get back to point. They knew they were not going to have that ready to go.
Yeah, that was great from them. I think Celestial Knights needs to keep pushing on the gas here and forcing these more scrappy exchanges, because Sort of Skilled, I feel like they're just waiting for the right moment before they go in, and sometimes it's not always going to come.
There's a dive for Master Rhino. Oh,
Oh!
Kitsune Rochelle from both sides right now, but Celestial Knights, you are feeling very, very good and sort of skilled. They're a smart enough team to know not to really engage on this, but they recognize this is a losing fight, so just stall out the point as long as you can here. Get that percentage up as high as you possibly can. Now it's up to Barrow, who's just going to die up. Bananas, you're going to want that back.
You're definitely gonna want that back if you are. We're gonna get a replay on this boob, and this was just what a heads up play. I mean, if we see Lucio banned next map, I think this is why, because we've had back-to-back boops on the Winston's players. But yes, Sort of Skilled gonna have the ult advantage as Celestial Knights expended both of their support ults just to win that point next.
Yeah, but I mean, Sora Skilled right now, having that beat's gonna be huge here. Moonlight pops the overclock here, looking for anything they can beat. Now coming out from Barrel, but Dub's gonna be the first one to fall here. Banana finding them out. Moonlight's sliding around. The Primal Rage now coming out here from Column M. Gonna be able to find Moonlights on that trade. Now focusing their sights on Bananas, but Bananas wall riding for their life. Eventually, though, they will fall. The Primal Rage gone here for M, and now it is online for Master Rhino, who's just trying to keep this point in their control. And they're doing a really good job of it. Full spam out from Annex, not going to be able to find anything. You just see kills going back and forth. Both Kiriko's out of the fray. Moonlight, I have to imagine they slid off the map, and based off that response that we're seeing in chat, I think they mistimed the jump.
They probably did mistime the jump. A lot of ults were used back and forth. Celestial used pretty much all the ultimates they had, kind of saw the point. Whereas Sort of Skilled, they have both DPS ults. But we're gonna see a battle of DPS ults versus Hope's Kitsune Rush, which is gonna get more value. But again, these sloppy engages tend to favor Celestial Knights a little bit more, and I feel like Sort of Skilled need to embrace the chaos rather than looking for the clean cut execute exchanges that don't come every single fight.
Merle, you see him playing very, very dangerously on that wall. They're looking for boobs. You know the Lucio players are. Annex, though, very low. Barrel's gonna be able to find them with the boop. There's a Kitsune Rush out here from Hope. Overclock out from Hoxie. Gonna be able to find their counterpart in Moonlights. Now focusing in here on Bananas, but here comes the rest of Celestial Knights to try to keep their team alive. Bananas will fall, and if you're Celestial Knights, I mean, you can't back out of this one. You have to go in because this is Final Fight territory.
It is Final Fight territory, and I don't think they're going to get a touch here. What a booth from Column. I think they're going to clean this up here. A late round touch does come in at the very last minute as they're just being bullied into their spawn, and it looks like Annex was the last touch, but I think they're going to clean this up here soon next.
I mean, you have Annex just trying to keep this touch alive. Master Rhino going to be able to get there in time to get booped away, but going to be booped on point. Hoxie Boxy, though, finding two final picks here, and a good kind of comeback round here for Sort of Skilled. They looked a lot better on this map than they did on the first point.
They did. They looked a lot as it went on. They looked a lot more cleaner, even in the sloppy engages. That last fight, Celestial, I know you want to hold on to it because it's about 70-70. You want to use that Kitsune Rush, but we got to talk about this, the environmental plays. I mean, we've got Moonlight jumping off at the map. We've got Lucio's getting back-to-back-to-back boops. I mean, that was just really good heads-up Lucio play. I'm really impressed with the Winston play of Colin so far as we go into this third round. This is by far the most brawly point, and I'm seeing the hazard in the Orisa decks, and I have to say, I think the Orisa inherently is a little better into the hazard. So I think Sort of Skill is going to have to play for wall engages, whereas Celestial Knights, the strategy is the same as map 1. You just play to outlive and outsustain, go in after.
Yeah, and honestly, that should exactly be what they do. If you're sort of skilled with this hazard, you're definitely trying to get on this backline, but a nice boop there by Bananas to really keep Hope out of problems right there. Annex and Moonlight so very low, and now you start to see Master Rhino go straight to point ice, or that wall gonna be completely just denied there by the Javelin spin, but for the first time, we're seeing sort of skilled just try to take space on point. Column M just doing a good job keeping themselves alive here, going after Annex right there, but again, still, you're just looking for anything, and Dub finding Master Rhino out here, and Annex falling right after that is exactly what sort of skill needed. Moonlights will find one, but that's probably gonna be the only thing that the Knights get this fight.
That's all they're gonna get. And while Orisa is very good at sustain, Hazard is no slouch at sustain either, and that's why he was so good when he initially came out, because he could just live for so long. So not only do you have the wall play where you can wall the team off and get a kill off that, but he can also live with his kind of diva matrix, for lack of a better word. And so Celeste, you got to be a little more quick about your engages than you were on round 1 versus the Winston.
M very low here early on, has to just duck for cover here for a brief moment, and Celestial Knight's not going to punish them early on. Already the Fortify coming out here from Rhino, but Moonlight's going to be able to find their counterpart, and then you find Column M, so it's exactly what we've seen every other point. Whoever caps point immediately loses the fight right after that, and Swords Guild doing exactly what they did, back on guard and just trying to hold on this point as long as they can, but 42% is all they get.
And if you're Celestial Knights, you have to know that you have the slight advantage with the Kitsune Rush, and you need to be going quicker. But this next fight is going to come down to the Genji Blade versus the beat of Bananas. I'm a Lucio player. Just play safe, get that beat off safely. Do not Ajax.
Downpour coming out from both sides right there, but the beat from Bananas should be able to sustain them through. A beat now coming out from the other side, but there is that blade from Dub very late in everything right there, and they're going to be able to find 3 off of it. Annex, last one alive. Burrow's going to take him out right there, and a nice re-entry there for Sora Skilled. But 4 ultimates invested for them, only 2 for the Knights. They're going to come in with 3.
You will take that trade if you're the Knights, because yeah, you had to use your beat for the Hazard ult, and you would know that as soon as that Hazard ult got used beat, the Genji Blade soon would come. But since you get that blade out and you use beat for 2 ults, now you have the ult advantage of the DPS.
This Terra Surge is going to be scary here for Source Guild. Overclock coming out right now from Hoxie. Boxy looking for anyone they can. Death Blossom out from Annex. Not going to be able to find anything. So 2 ultimates right now invested for the Knights, and no picks to come from any of them. Source Guild finding all the picks at the moment. Almost getting hope right there. Dub will eventually find them. But now again, you see the Knights just trying to back out because they do not have the time.
They do not have the time, and all they do have for this last fight is the Soj ult. But if you're looking, sort of skilled, they want to play up. They don't want to let them touch. We're going to see a late D.Va swap just to try to get onto the point. You gotta get something here quick. You gotta hope that Moonlight can click some heads.
They should be able to get a touch here. Right there, there's the touch from Master Rhino, and yeah, you're really hoping that this overclock from Moonlights is going to be a difference maker here, but so far, everyone on Sora's skill, they're going to be completely fine giving the point up here for a moment. They want this ultimate to go away because they know in the long fight, they will be able to sustain a little bit longer than the Knights here, and you see, they're coming up to ultimates already, that Kitsune Rush online here.
Yeah, they're coming up with the Kitsune Rush, and they're going to pop it right now. They want this round.
Kitsune Rush out here from Ligma as they try to find anyone they can. Column M just looking for anything. Downpour coming out there does find one, and that's a huge one there on the Moonlights, but you lose Burrow and Dub. I mean, if you're sort of skilled, you're kind of fumbling the bag here at the moment.
You are fumbling it bad, and I said as soon as the Kitsune Rush from Ligma came out, yes, they wanted to end it, but you can't bite too early. You have to stay disciplined. They wasted the Hazard ult and got nobody for it. And that's Celestial ults. They have double support ults. They have the bomb. They have the Reaper ult coming up. But if you're Dub and you're Voxy, you have to come up huge like you have all round and finish this and take home map 1 for Sword of Skilled.
If you're sort of skilled, you want to get an ultimate out early on. That is exactly what happens here. Barrel going to invest the beat here, but Dub does not find it. They're going to get booped on the map. The blade comes out, but Moonlight shuts them down. Bananas, though, very low. Here comes the overclock from Hoxie. Barrel will find one before Moonlight finds them right back out. Sort of skill, you need Hoxie here to find a pick, but they're struggling. Moonlight's coming alive. M going to be able to find one. Bananas pops the beat. Overtime has commenced here, and the Knights looking to carry from that upset they had in round 1. They might be taking our first map of the night here, but Dub finds Bananas. Ligma gets traded out right there. You see Burrow just going to try to stay on point as long as they can. Bomb coming out here from Master Rhino. Not going to be able to find anyone. The overclock from Moonlights finds one, looking for a second on the Hoxie. Hoxie will get the touch, but no one from Sort of Skilled is around.
Woo!
And Sort of Skilled dropping their 3rd map of the season as the Celestial Knights go up 1-0.
We might be in for a long night, Dex. This might truly be some after hours Overwatch. What a map from both teams. But I feel like the story kind of remains, when the fight gets scrappy and it comes down to playmaking, Moonlight showed up a ton for Celestial Knights, hitting the headshot onto the Genji Blade. And I'll give credit where credit's due. Bananas had a crazy boop off the map to kind of negate some of that blade, but I mean, he just popped it. He was going to have a dash. He would have gotten back onto the map. If Moonlight had not hit that shot, who knows what would have happened. And so, sort of skilled, you just need to execute a lot cleaner. You need to maybe calm down and realize that you're #1 seed and not let this get to you. Pick a map that you're great at and go from there. And if you're Celestial Knights, keep the momentum down. The support line, I've been very impressed with just their ability to not die and get the ultimates off quick. But I've really been impressed with the DPS line and NX and Moonlight. They've just been consistently carrying fights the way that they need to. So this has definitely been a showdown so far, Dex, as the replay has shown thus far, and I'm very excited to get into map 2.
Yeah, and honestly, I think Moonlights was a big difference maker there for Celestial Knights in that third point. Their railguns towards the end of it there were just key for them. And like I said, sort of skilled. They kind of fumbled the bag here a little bit with their ultimate usage towards the end of that
Yes.
third point. I mean, they could have been a lot better with them here. And I think that's one of the main reasons why they lost. Celestial Knights just played it almost perfectly there. And like I said, this is a team that had an upset win in the first round. Why not get an upset win here in the second round? This Masters tier has already brought us a lot. I think this has been one of the more fun kind of playoffs brackets to watch so far here in CGL, because we have that upset, that chaotic kind of play style coming out from a lot of teams here. But right now, if you're Celestial Knights, if you're Source Guild, you have this map pick. Like you said, you have to be bringing us to a map that you feel 100% confident on, that you are going to be able to win, because you don't want this series to go down 2-0 and have to reverse sweep.
Yeah, and I mean, what a story it would be for the Celestial Knights to knock sort of skilled down to the losers bracket early on. But I mean, like you said, with this bracket, with this tier, that's kind of what we've already had so far. So it wouldn't be out of the ordinary to happen. People talk about it a lot. Overwatch is very much a team game. It's not an individual game. You're gonna have crazy moments. I think I was very impressed with the Winston play of Column. But that's one person versus a team of 5. You got to come together. So if you are sort of skilled, you got to compose yourself. Like I said, go to the drawing board. What's a map that we can dominate them on, and what's a map we can go to, and kind of go from there.
Well, it looks like Source Field has decided what that map is going to be. Our second map of the night is going to be Watchpoint Gibraltar here. And I mean, you immediately see this map pick here, and you think dive. You think it almost immediately, and that's what we want. That's what we saw Source Guild basically running that entire first map, and Celestial Knights did a really good job matching them on it. So if you're Source Guild, you're really thinking that this is going to be a map where you kind of set that tone again.
Yeah, I agree a ton. And Celestial Knights, to their credit, on the first point when they had to swap to the dive, they did a good job of executing the matching. But let's be honest, the Orisa, the Diva, that is what really, really helped them so much going into those more brawly points, just having that sustained. And they played it better, to their credit. So if you're sort of skilled, I mean, I'm not really sure what you look to ban here, because a lot of the brawly dive comps aren't really good on maps like Gibraltar, because there's so much room for a Winston to run away. So I'm not sure what you ban here. Maybe you ban the Ana, get rid of the anti and sleep, and just make it easy to dive on the back line. Maybe you get rid of the Kiriko to negate the Suzus. Or maybe you look to ban like a Diva. I also think that's a good idea, because Diva's a little bit good at Winston, and we saw Column. He was dominating on the Winston, so that makes sense to me.
Yeah, I see this as more of a protection ban here, so that if they were to ban any other role, the Winston would not be immediately banned out here. So I think this is a good ban for Sword Skill. Celestial Knights, on the other hand, like you said, I mean, Ana probably might be the move here. I don't really think any of those DPS characters were giving you a lot of problems. Yeah, the Genji was able to pop off here and there. The Soj was able to pop off here and there for Sword Skill, but you are also running a Soj yourself, and I believe you have to keep them there. They were playing great on the side of Celestial Knights, so I think you really have to look at that support line again, whether it be the Ana or potentially the Brig here. I feel like that's another one going to a pure dive map. You're going to probably want to run that Ana Brig backline.
Yeah, and if you're thinking, you don't want to deal with the Winston, you want to run the Lucio Kiriko, definitely get rid of the Ana or the Brig, make it harder for that backline to sustain, live, help each other out, and help the Winston out. So that's definitely a ban they could look to do. Like I said, I don't think they should ban a DPS, because you're a DPS, we're matching the DPS line is sort of skilled, so those matchups are fine. So if anything, just make it easier for your support line based on what you want to run. I mean, if you want to run an Ana yourself to negate the Winston, you get rid of the Kiriko, you get rid of the Cleanse. You can also get rid of, the Ana herself, so you can run over and punish the Winston more easily. We'll have to see. I can only imagine the pick is coming in very soon here. We can theory craft, though. Well, Celestial Knights, I mean, hero bans are very important. Yes, they can make or break a map.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think they kind of made it that first map a little bit, because yeah, we saw the Ramatra ban out there, especially if a team like Celestial Knights wanted to run the Ramatra. I think you got them off of it, and it really actually ended up helping out Celestial Knights. Juno ban, I mean, like I said, that's kind of a normal ban out first map. But again, Celestial Knights still waiting on their ban here. I have to imagine, like I said, it's going to be in that support line and that support category. I don't really look at a DPS kind of ban coming out here early on, but no, they're actually going after the Genji, which, I mean, give it up there to, I believe it was Dub who was running them. They did a solid job on the Genji that first map, and enough to warrant a ban coming out here. So I mean, you see this a lot often now, where if you're banning out the Genji, you're probably gonna be picking up the Tracer if you're that DPS player.
I will say, Dub originally came out on the Tracer versus Annex and didn't love the matchup, so he swapped to the Genji and saw a lot more success. And also, I feel like this is also a good ban for Celestial Knights, because one thing you struggled with was getting the Lucio beat off, because if you used Hazard, you didn't have the Blade. And now that's one less ult you have to worry about on the side of Celestial Knights and Bananas. And if you felt like the Genji was just destroying your backline, you felt like the Genji was causing mayhem, which Dub was. He was doing really good. I was very impressed with both DPS lines. That takes a little more pressure off you, and this is a very good map for Genji. So I feel like this is Celestial Knights saying, we prefer the Tracer mashup. We think Annex is better at it, and we're going to run it. We're going to see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, I like this for Celestial Knights. You're banning out someone who you really thought was a problem. But I mean, you leave that support line open, so we could see Ana, we could see Brig, we could see Ana Kiriko here. We could see a wide variety of support lines here. I mean, Juno back in play now. I don't necessarily expect them to come out here, but you know, I've been wrong in the past, and I will always continue to be wrong. However, I mean, as we head into the map here, we do have a couple subs coming in for both teams right here. Starting off first for Sword of Skilled, it will be Dragon coming in here for Hoxie, and on the side of Celestial Knights, you're gonna have a couple swaps come in here. Bananas is actually gonna take the spot of Master Rhino on the tank. Big Brain is now coming in on that support line, so a little bit more variety swaps here coming in for Celestial Knights. Probably a little bit better for a dive composition for them.
You know, I'm very curious. I see that Mercy icon for Big Brain. What are the chances we get a pocket here as we go into the dive? None? You don't think so? You think there's no chance? None?
No. None.
Okay. Well,
just because their icon's Mercy does not mean they're gonna play.
That's true. Maybe they're the Ana. Maybe they're the Ana player, and Hope is the Brig. Maybe, who knows? Time will only tell as we get into this map. I'm very curious to see what Bananas can do on the tank roll. They just played Lucio. And they just rolled for him. And yeah, it was the Ana pick. You were definitely right about that. So we're going to see very similar comps. We've got Ana Brig on both sides. We've got a Venture here on attack. So I'm very curious to see what's your take on it. We've got the Hanzo, and I haven't seen that in a while either. So these are very interesting, like niche picks to me in a sense. Outside of the Widow, I feel like it's pretty custom for Gibraltar.
The Hanzo's are interesting because, like you said, you would probably much rather expect a Widow or an Ashe here. Annex, I think they're just teasing us with the Venture pick. We could see it. It is a possibility, but I feel like they're going to have it the Symmetra TP here and then immediately swap back over to the Tracer to just get on that backline. But we're seeing that you know, traditional backline here that I talked about, that Brig Ana.
Bring on indeed an early anti over on the side of Sort of Skilled. You know, and got slept. Going to drop just the point for a minute. We're going to have to see what these teams do on the pure dive exchanges.
Yeah, right now, I mean, Column M getting very low again. That's been something that we have noticed a couple times here already, this very early on in the series. Column M is just absorbing a lot of damage early on. It's got him in trouble a couple times here.
Yeah, and right now we're just kind of seeing teams, you know, this is kind of a custom for Gibraltar. You got to play for space before you can really push the part. You know, again, this Hanzo, maybe this, you know, provides a little more util to kind of deny the space that he's to take because of his arrows, as we see an early dive from Bananas on top of the high ground.
I think the Hanzo here is a little bit of more of a deterrent for the dive composition here from Bananas. Those Storm Arrows can do a lot, but you know, it doesn't really stop anyone from doing what Moonlights did right there, finding Barrel out, but you immediately get rid of that backline for Celestial Knights here. So Sora Skilled, I mean, you already kind of see them backing up here. They don't want to lose anyone else, and Column M almost in a really bad spot here, looking for that jump out.
So that was a huge nade on the side of Ligmatos onto the back line of Celestial Knights. So even though Moonlight got a huge pick onto Viral, it kind of negated the fact that happened as Column N was able to clean up on the anti. Annex just putting some pressure on the point here, dueling the Tracer a little bit, but yes, this Hanzo is very much anti-dive. So it's kind of working out a little well for them as they're spamming down choke, but we're going to see early nanos on the side of Sword of Skill, and you have to imagine they use it pretty soon here.
I mean, they're going to have it online first, but Dragon's going to be able to find Hope out early on. Big Brain kind of looking worse for it at the moment, but they're going to be able to fall back and get that heal up here right now. So again, if you're sort of skilled, I think you kind of like how these first couple fights have gone here. 2 minutes gone, you haven't used any ultimates yet, but Celestial Knights, they haven't used anything yet either.
And they're not too far behind. The only thing that Sort of Skilled is really dominating on is that break. Hope has not had a good time on break so far, yes. And what is this exchange?
I mean, Dub gonna find 2 with the Pulse Bomb. M gonna be able to trade out Moonlights, and this is exactly, again, what Sword Skilled really wants here. I mean, 2 ultimates invested, but I mean, you find 2 with the Pulse Bomb. You don't really expect to find much with the Pulse Bomb. 2 is a lot for it.
Yeah, I just don't know if I agree with the pathing that Celestial Knights supports took there. You can't clear that high ground until the Tracer and the Winston have cleared it for you. So I don't know why they went through there, especially knowing that the Tracer has Pulse. Like, that was just a gimme for Dub. And I mean, you still have to hit it, you have to stick it, but Sort of Skilled saw that and they just jumped on it.
Nano out there early onto Bananas, but they get booped off that high ground there by Barrel. Now though, they're going after Dragon. Oh, but a huge sleep there. Gonna make sure Dragon is kept alive here. M gonna pop that Primal Rage, and now though, you lose Bananas, you lose Hope. Moonlight's gonna be able to find 1 here, but I mean, you need a little bit more here if you're Celestial Knights. That time bank is getting low, and you just lost Moonlight.
Heads up play from NX, even though he's going to get a late stagger here to push the bot a little bit, maybe C9, but Sort of Skilled pulling off a masterclass on the dive right now. Not using a lot of ultimates, they're rotating them well. They used the Pulse Bomb a fight ago, they almost have it back. Celestial Knights, they're going to switch over to the Echo. I agree with this, you need more dive help. You only have the Primal going into this versus the Rally. The Rallies, I mean, if you're Celestial Knights, you really need a huge play from the DPS here.
I'm going to be able to find Big Bring out here early on. Here comes a Primal Rage from Bananas. Ligmatos does miss the sleep here onto Bananas, and I mean, they've done a good job of keeping themselves alive here. Barrel's done a good job as well, just doing that. A nice sleep there by Ligmatos. Going to be able to keep them alive here for the moment, and now no touches are coming out from Celestial Knights. Sora Skilled. Like I said, they needed to reset the tone in this series, and that was a good round to do it on.
I absolutely agree, and the Hanzo pick might have seemed weird to us initially, but I definitely see the strategy now. It was a huge deterrent to the Winston 2 dive, and I think this is the anti-play here. No, this was beautiful on the side of Dub. You know, it was like a 360 turn, or a 160 or 180, sorry, my math. Maybe I'm just tired from the time of day it is, but yeah, Sort of Skilled dominated on that dive. I don't know if I agree with the Widow for how long it was. You got a pick or 2, sure, but just given the fact that they had a Hanzo Dex, you need to put more pressure on that backline. Because Sort of Skilled, they're coming out, they're not even going to try the Widow, they're just going to come out on the Echo, which I agree a lot more with than the Widow pick. It just wasn't working out in your favor. You know, 2 minutes in, you got to try something different, you got to switch it up. I think Bananas and Annex having a little more help on those dive exchanges would have helped a lot more. With the dives, if they just had a little more help.
Yeah. Moonlight's though sticking on the Widow here on defense. Again, a little bit of a better pick on defense. However, the biggest problem is if they die out here during any team fight, that's basically it for the Widow, in my opinion. You're going to have to swap off because, yeah, you were able to push the cart pretty far. You still have a really good winning spot here, but you cannot afford to get taken out very early on here in multiple fights. A nice anti-nade out there, though. Early on, Bananas, though, gets antied up, but going to be able to jump out. Annex finding Barrel. A good start here for the Knights.
Yeah, and they just saw that TP was coming, so they went ahead and they set up there. Bananas was right there when the TP came out, so really heads-up play from Big Brain. You could say it was a Big Brain play. Moonlight's, yeah, it's a better pick on the Widow here as he's looking to get some shots, but you have to hope that you don't get dove first from M, from Dragon, and from Dub, and if it's Celestial, you just kind of want to keep up the pressure, but that's going to be hard to do with NX getting picked so early.
Yeah, and I mean, now Sourcehill going to be able to come down from that low ground, dive onto that high ground. They're trying to get rid of Moonlights here because they know if they get rid of this Widowmaker, you're going to open up a lot of opportunities for the rest of your team, and that's exactly what Dragon does right there. Gets rid of Moonlights. Now they can kind of fly freely here, trying to focus in on this backline. Nice sticky nades there onto the majority of them here. Dub going to be able to find bananas, and look at where that cart is. You cannot afford to lose a team fight, but your supports being in a small room with a Winston and an Echo breathing down their necks is not a good sign. Sort of skilled, putting on a speed run here, going to be able to tie the series up.
Yeah, that was a dominant performance from the side of Sort of Skilled. They wanted the dive next, and we know why. Every facet, every matchup, they dominated outside of maybe one or two fights. M has just been so good on the Winston all evening. And the DPS line, Dragon and Dub doing really well in that Tracer and Echo and the Hanzo play. Moonlight, again, really lethal with your shots. I understand why you want to play that Widow. I get it, but I don't know if I would have opted for it all the way through. Yeah, that's just, what a stick from Dub on those stairs. But really solid team play all around for all of Sort of Skilled. If you're Celestial Knights, I don't think we're going to another dive map here, Dex, after we come out of the
Probably
break.
not. Probably not, but again, like I said, Sort of Skill, they needed something there because that first map, it kind of got away from them. They were fumbled the bag a little bit, using ultimates at the worst possible time, not finding value with those ultimates as well. This map, it looked like they kind of slowed everything down a little bit, were able to get back into a rhythm that they really wanted to play, and it just worked out perfectly for them there. Celestial Knights, though, they have that first map win, so it will be 1-1 heading into our first break. So everyone, stick around. We're going to throw it to a quick break and then be right back with maps 3 and 4 of this series. Sora Skilled winning our second map of the night in a dominant fashion. Puts the score back tied up at 1. Celestial Knights, they won that first map pretty convincingly as well. They were able to take that mirror and just kind of run with it, but the mirror on the second map did not go their way at all. They have the map pick here, but Vert, I mean, that's kind of what we expected from Sora Skilled. They reset the tone in that map and really made it look like a one-sided affair.
They did, and going to Gibraltar, you felt like you had the better Winston play. You felt like you had the better honor break play, and you did. You dominated. You full held them, capped in like what 2 fights. And so, if you're Celestial Knights, you got to do exactly what Sort of Skill did during the first break. You got to take a deep breath, take them to a map you feel confident you can win on, and that map that they feel they can confidently win on is King's Row. And to this, it makes sense for me watching the first map, because that brawl, when it came to the brawl, they played a little bit better. And so if you're Celestial Knights, these bans are going to be important, because for the first time all series, they have the first ban of the night. Sort of Skilled won the first coin toss, and they lost the first map. So you get the first ban here, and going into King's Row, you have to imagine they want to play more of the brawl. So let's look to negate some things that are bad for brawl here.
Well, I mean, I feel like we should be looking maybe at the tank line here if you're thinking brawl might be the case for them. Maybe a protection ban coming out, because I believe that is definitely what we saw come out there from a Sora Skill last round, banning out the D.Va, so each team was basically forced to play the Winston here. But no, instead it's going to be the Ana coming out here. Don't want to deal with any anti-nades for either side, it seems.
Yeah, they did not love the anti-nades from the side of Sort of Skilled's backline last map. They did not like it as well. So that's just, I can understand it, especially if you run the quick fast brawl. You don't want it to be disrupted by an anti-nade. You want to run the Lucio Kiriko likely. You want to run maybe a Juno Brig, something along that line. So if you're Sort of Skilled, maybe you look to ban a brawl tank. You got rid of the Ramatra, you got rid of the D.Va. Maybe you banned, I don't know, Orion maybe, or the Orisa that gave you so much trouble, or go from there, figure out how you're going to respond to the brawl, and go from there. And instead, they're going to ban the Sojourn, so all tanks available for play as we go into map 3 here, Dex.
I like this ban from Sora Skilled, actually, because we saw Moonlights really take over that first map of Lijiang Tower towards the end with the Soj. So you get rid of the Soj here, you force them to play something like a Cassie or like an Ana instead, and they're probably thinking after the last map where Moonlights played that Widow that they'd rather take those chances with those kind of one-shot characters coming out here. So I like the ban here, getting rid of the Soj. Yeah, you saw Dub play it first map, but you can see, or no, you actually saw Hoxie Voxie play it first map. We still have Dragon in here for Sora Skilled going into our second map, and you do see Master Rhino coming back in for the Celestial Knights. Like you said, going back to that first map, we saw the Orisa there. With them coming back into the fold for this map, I would not be surprised if we see the Orisa again for Celestial Knights.
Absolutely, and you still have Big Brain and Hope in, and Hope played Kiriko, not the Lucio. Bananas was your Lucio player, so I'm very curious to see what the backline of Celestial Knights is going to look here as we get into it. And it looks like we're going to get definitely some brawl on this side of Sort of Skill. You got Dub on that Genji, he was crazy on a map 1. You got Viral and Ligmatos on the Lucio Kiriko. We're going to see the Ramatra, so I think this is the first tank outside of Winston we've seen call him on. And I have to imagine he does pretty well here. I like the Ashe pick just to create some distance, get some picks, really spread the brawl apart from Celestial Knights. I'm curious to see if we stick the Widow here. I'm not opposed if you hit a shot or two, but I like May for the walls and the separations, and you go in with that Orisa. Like we said, we talked about on map 1. Master Rhino did really well on it, Dex. Let's see what they can get done. As we go into map 3 here, Celestial Knights, they got rolled on map 2. This is a chance for them to fire back.
Moonlight's coming out here on the Widow, probably just looking for a couple pop shots here, but again, I mean, this was the biggest problem that the Widow had last map for them. Weren't always constantly landing shots here, and coming out the gate, I mean, they only landed one of that we saw right there. M, though, already forced to use the Nemesis form to back up here, it seems, or Annex. Finding Dragon out, that's exactly the pick you're looking for here. No dynamites to really annoy your team. Dub looking a little bit worse for wear as well, searching for any healing they can find as Celestial Knights just brawl their way onto point. Rhino doing a good job keeping M in check here at the moment, but Dub back into the fray, trying to do what they can. Annex again, finding Viral out. Hope finds Ligmatos, and sort of skilled. I mean, they don't look the best going into Brawl.
No, they don't. They do not know how to play against this Orisa and the amount of sustain, but it's hard to do that next when NX is taking out your entire team and doing God's work. You know, Moonlight not really hitting a lot of shots this map. NX said, don't worry, I got you, and said that I'll hit some himself. So we'll have to see how they respond. They're going to get off of the Ramattra here and go Winston with a Discord. I have to imagine that's to burst down the Orisa decks.
Yeah, it definitely is. They want to make sure Master Rhino is not having a good time, not at all here. But again, a lot of it is M has to be able to make some space here so that the Viral can really find that Discord orb here right now. Anexo already has this Blizzard here ready to go. That could be used early on just to build some space because Sora's Guild wants to try to get back and hold it. Arches, nice dynamite there from Dragon, burning a couple members, but that support line for Celestial Knights doing a good job getting everyone back up. And look at the ultimates that the Knights are about to have here. They could play very aggressive if they wanted to.
If they wanted to, but they have decent patience knowing that they don't have to press the issue. Now ultimates are being thrown all over the place, X, so this is just chaos and pandemonium. It looks like NX is going to come out on top because he's just going, well, got shut down as I say he was getting shots. Yeah.
Viral though finds two, and I mean Master Rhino's very low as well. You're starting to see him get pestered out here by that Winston. Now that Discord roll really coming into effect, focusing in now on Hope. Column M is going to be able to find them, and this is exactly what sort of skill needed. Yeah, you lost your DPS line early on. Who cares? You have a Zenyatta.
You have a Zenyatta, and who needs your DPS line when Zenyatta exists? So that's definitely the Discord paying off here, and the ult advantage is about to pay off for Sword of Skill as they're coming up on 4 ultimates here, and Celestial Knights only have maybe 3 at the end of it, but they only have the double support ult, and it looks like they want to press the issue now.
Bob out early here from Dragon just to try to counter out this Kitsune rush, but Bob's gonna be taken off the field. However, Master Rhino just got burned out right there. Not necessarily what you want to see here if you're the Celestial Knights, and look at what that does here. They're gonna just try to go right back to point, and some of them are gonna go back to spawn, you know, via death.
Yeah, by death or by choice, doesn't matter, you're going back to spawn. Sword of Skill, I'm loving this Zenyatta variation because it's forcing Celestial Knights to change their entire strategy. And we're seeing Master Rhino get off of that Orisa because he just can't live the way that he was on the first 2 points here. And Sword of Skill rotating those ultimates really well. Coming back up on 4 again, Celestial Knights only have 2 and don't even have a chance to use them.
And the Blade and the Primal Rage coming out here. Dub already finding 1. The Primal Rage not really doing a lot, but Annex, they've been somewhat consistent here for the Knights early on as we get a pause here. Again, we had one back in map 1, and it was for column M, so it wouldn't surprise me if it was M that might have got disconnected here again, but I mean, this is going Sora Skill's way. Everything is starting to piece together for them off that sluggish start. They go over to the Winston. That Zen, like you said, it's been a big difference for them so far.
It has, and you know, I feel like the Soj ban is really showing right now on the side of Moonlight because when Celestial Knights was winning a lot of those scrappy fights, it was because Moonlight was getting late picks and late kills, and I haven't seen a lot of that out of him in this map so far. You know, even on Gibraltar last map with Widow, some of the fights that almost went Celestial Knight's way was because he hit a couple of headshots and swung it in their favor. But right now, really limiting the hit scan ability of Celestial Knights with that. But it looks like whatever happened is being fixed, and we are going back in after the pause. I'm very curious to see. I don't know who DC'd here, but I don't think it matters.
I don't know if anyone DC'd, but I think there's a slight mistake. M going to be able to find Rhino after they get demeched right there, and now 2.5 minutes left for Celestial Knights. Source Skill, though, did invest 2 ultimates in that fight.
Yes, and they'll have double support ults, and they're coming up on the Bob. Celestial Knights are going to have both DPS ults. Lucio Beat's got to be big here. Hope you got to go crazy. And sort of skilled, you got to just play aggressive with this Zenyatta as you've been doing since Point B started.
Oh, and Dub just diving up there with Column M to get rid of Moonlights here. And that's been one reason why Moonlights kind of been quiet. They've been someone who's been targeted out here early on. And Celestial Knights, I mean, they're just going to back up. Look at the ultimates they have coming up here.
I mean, yeah, and if you're Celestial Knights, you need to be taking pressure off of Moonlight by diving the Ashe. But how do you do that? Sort of Skilled is playing kind of a pokey, divey comp, and you're running a Brawl comp / Rush just with an Ashe. So it's really hard, and it's a really bad stylistic matchup, and they can't even, again, they can't get a clean engage going, Dex.
No, they really can't. That Kitsune Rush coming out here. Master Rhino doing their best to try to stay alive. Transcendence now coming out here from Viral to try to keep everyone alive through this blizzard, and it's working like a charm. Moonlight's only going to be able to get rid of the Bob here, but they're going to probably have to fall back. And, I mean, Celestial Knights, they invested Bob and the blizzard in that fight. You kind of want the blizzard back here.
Yeah, we're going to see a swap off the blizzard. We're going to go Reaper here, maybe just to negate some of the Winston dive that's going on. I like the cast switch a lot better. You can play with the team, you can brawl a lot easier. I think this is going to help him out a lot. He's going to have a harder time being caught out. We got double support ults versus a Genji Blade and a Winston soon. Looks like they don't want to wait to find out.
Ooh. That Kitsune Rush is a little bit early, in my opinion. Like, Source Guild's able to completely just peel out of there and just let that go. NX now going over this Reaper. I like it. They want to just get rid of M as fast as they can here, and Reaper a direct counter. Rhino does have this bomb ready to go here, but you're not going to have a beat to really keep you alive through it. So Celestial Knights, it looks like they're just trying to get a quick fall back here, but oh, Annex just able to keep themselves alive there.
Yeah, you need to be getting out if you're Celestial Knights. You do not need to be staggering yourself. This is getting very, very dangerous territory.
Yeah, and right now the beat coming out here from Hope. Master Rhino is not going to be able to find much with the bomb. The Blade now out from Dub. Nice swift step there by Ligmatos to keep themselves alive. So the Blade going to go quiet here. Now Celestial Knights, I mean, they're looking like they might be able to get this second point here. Column M, I mean, they almost have this Primal Rage. Deadeye out for Moonlight's going to be used as a zoning tool here at the moment. Do we see a touch come out? Nice dynamite. Ligmatos pops that Kitsune Rush. So, and now M back into the fray with that Primal Rage. Going to be able to find one with it. They're just trying to keep everyone away. If they could find Hope, that would be huge. Rhino, no bomb to keep them alive this time. They'll get demacked and killed right after it. And now you're just seeing sort of Skilled clean up. It's almost to that point too, Celestial Knights gets, but it will be sort of Skilled that stops him just in time.
Yeah, and I feel like what we saw there that really defined that round was sort of Skilled. They lost point A, they swapped. They got off the Ram, they got off the Lucio, they went to the Zenyatta, they went to the Winston, and they started dominating. Celestial Knights, they got point A, and then they lost a bunch of points on. They lost a bunch of fights on point B. They didn't swap off of the Ashe until there was a minute left. And they didn't swap off of the Mei until there was a minute left. And so that doesn't give you any chance to make any adaptations, get any old cycles going. And so these are the kinds of things, you can't be stubborn in that. You got to be willing to make the swaps when it's appropriate. And, you know, sort of Skilled being that #1 seed, Celestial Knights being that 4, you kind of see the difference there, Dex, like in terms of discipline. You know, we're going to swap sooner if it's not working. And we'll have to see if they continue to make any adaptations as we go on to defense. The Ramatra, they got banned map 1. You have to think maybe it wasn't a target ban, but they know that Celestial Knights like the Ram Rush. We'll have to see if they pull it out here. As the side of sort of Skilled, I can't imagine you change anything because it was working and viral was going crazy. That's it.
Yeah, and I mean, like you said, when we were talking about what map Celestial Knights should pick, you even said, like, hey, they need to avoid a dive map, and they brought us to, you know, Kings Row. Yeah, it's kind of changed from being that, you know, all-out brawl map that it was known for in Overwatch 1, but in Overwatch 2, it's kind of an all-rounders map, so you can play the dive here. But again, M, what did I say last round? They always get very low early on, and look at what that does here to Sword Skilled. They just have to slow down because of it, but they're waiting for the dive out here, but you lose Viral, who has been a linchpin in so many of your fights. M will find one, but they'll immediately fall right after that.
In my opinion, of Celestial Knights, that's what you need to be doing. If they're going to be playing that Zenyatta, they do not have the mobility that they want to go sort of Skilled. Everyone on sort of Skilled has a button to get out except for Viral. So go and collapse on them and force resources from sort of Skilled to come out, and then you win the that battle in terms of sustain.
And right now, you already see Sword of Skill just try and do whatever they can. Celestial Knights gonna give them some space here. Gonna be playing in hotel lobby, and once they see that Viral just peek their head out, they're immediately trying to jump on them, but they have to fall back here pretty quickly. Dub in that backline is gonna cause a little bit of a problem here. Now for Celestial Knights, you let that Tracer get there, it's gonna be a little bit of a slippery slope. Hope looking a little bit worse for Wear at the moment. Same thing for Annex, but they're staying alive with barely 1 health. No, make that 3. They're just looking for any healing they can get, but they're gonna get there now as Celestial Knights doing a really good job here early on.
Sword of Skill just looking to kind of get resources out and figure out how to move in here, and it looks like they're going to do that with the Ram.
Dove gonna be able to find Moonlights. There's finally a pick going Sort of Skill's way. If Dragon can build up to an Annihilation, it might be enough just to kind of win them the fight, but they find Master Rhino out. Here's the Annihilation out just as the duplicate fades away. They're able to find Big Brain. This should be this first point going over to Sort of Skilled. And I mean, one ultimate for one ultimate, but I feel like Big Brain investing that Kitsune Rush there might come back to haunt them here a little bit.
It was a little too early. You were already down 1, and now we're almost down 2. I don't mind trying to hold on to that point, but you got to be able to make something off of it. And Celestial Knights, they're not wanting to give up any ground here. They're gonna look to hold under the choke, which with the comp you have, can't say that I blame you.
And right now, I mean, Celestial Knights are going to be able to get back here and actually hold at Arches. And with the ultimates they have coming up here, too, they could easily do it. That Annihilation is a good tool. The Pulse Bomb from Dub. Yeah, that's one of the Pulse Bombs of all time right there. Not going to be able to find anything with it that time. But Master Rhino, they are in prime position. Here comes the Deadeye out from Moonlights. They have a couple skulls, but not going to be able to find anything as Column M going to be able to pop that Primal Rage to keep themselves alive. However, a little bit low on health here. It doesn't really matter as they find 2 already with it. Annihilation out from Rhino, who just is really kind of trying to kite everything out here. Suzu invested on them. That Annihilation trying to get rid of 1, but is eventually going to fade away. Rhino now back into that Nemesis form, but they are just being ran down by the entirety of Sort of Skilled. A great team fight for them there. However, it did cost them 4 ultimates.
It did cost them 4 ults, and Celestial Knights, they did match with the Ramatra and with the High Noon. What's good for you is now Annex has that free blade, and Big Brain has the Kitsune Rush that they lost. And also a heads-up play for Master Rhino to go back and die on point, so that way they don't get any extra cart push off of his stagger. We'll have to see what Dragon does. He's probably going to dupe the Ramatra again, and they're going to look more aggressively. I think you probably look to Sound Barrier that and negate the aggression, and then go in with a Counterblade. We'll have to see how it plays out, though. And Celestial Knights, oh, that can't happen.
You lose the blade, you called the dupe right there back onto the Ramatra. Now, though, double support ultimates coming out here for Celestial Knights. They understand what this fight is. If they lose, they are able to knock Dragon out of that dupe right there. So no Annihilation for the side of Sword Skilled. Dub, though, in that backline does have this Pulse Bomb ready to go and waiting for it. You see Annex coming back in. Nice stickies there by Dragon as M finds 2. Now the blade from Annex means a lot. Dub gonna be able to find Big Brain to slash. They're gonna be able to find 1, but that might be all they find here. Annex will fall to Dub, and now it's just touches that have to come out here from Celestial Knights. Pulse Bomb coming out, they're not gonna be able to find anything, and I mean, you see some members of Celestial Knights making some swaps. 2 members of Sword Skilled on point. Is it gonna be enough to get them over the edge? No. You see Moonlights get back just in time. A nice pick there by Big Brain, but you do trade out Moonlights. However, I mean, that 1 pick was enough to get Sword Skilled off the card.
This fight isn't quite over yet. Asligmatos comes back in with the Kitsune Rush.
And Big Brain, first one to fall. Column M has done a good job at focusing out these supports all map long. Hope next one to fall, followed by the tank. Now it's just fine Annex, and that should be the map. Sort of Skilled. 1 map win away from the winners finals.
Can stream see chat? Column wants to know if stream can see the chat. Definitely feeling himself on that Winston, probably.
If a player ever asks that, I am instantly concerned about what they are going to say next. I mean, this was a good performance by them. I mean, once they went over to the Winston, everything kind of changed for the Sword Skilled team. And like we said, I mean, Celestial Knights brought us to a map where you normally expect to see brawl, and it just didn't really work out from Sword Skilled. They forced dive, and it worked for them. It really did. And Celestial Knights, they had to respond to it, and they struggled to. And they have really struggled against the dive for Sword Skilled throughout the night here.
Yeah, that's kind of been a theme and element of the series thus far. I just think, you know, I'm seeing not a lot of commitment to certain playstyles. When they were on the Cassidy and the Genji on attack, they looked a lot better. Who knows what they could have done? When they were in the Cassidy and Genji on defense, they looked a lot better. Who knows what they could have done if they committed to that a little sooner on attack? And running the Ashe with a brawl comp is fine if you can execute. And Sort of Skill kind of knew what they needed to do to make that Ashe's life living hell. Just jumped on her. I mean, who's going to peel for her? All the Celestial Knights is around the corner brawling. Ashe is by herself. So Sort of Skill definitely playing to the advantages of their comp a lot better and executing that dive a lot easier. And your Celestial Knights, I mean, we've got push, we've got, I think it's Flashpoint left, and we'll have to see where they go and what they do with it.
Well, I mean, if I were to take a good guess, it would be Saravasa, and I believe that is where our fourth and potential final map of this series is gonna be. We're heading to the Flashpoint map of Saravasa here, and if you're the Knights here, this has to be the map that you ban out Winston. I mean, you can play Winston here. I feel like
Yes.
if you have the right, you will have the first ban. You need to get rid of the Winston to give yourself a good opportunity here.
Yeah, you ban the Winston here so you can force the map 5, but then the question becomes, do you want to try to play into the Winston on this point and make it to the map 5 and then ban it for map 5 if you can? Or do you want to ban the Winston now and deal with it later come map 5? Because you have to assume if Sort of Skill loses this map, they're going to pick the next map and they're going to make sure it's a dive map, say like Esperanza or something like that, whatever in our pool of play for that. And they're just going to look to dominate there because that's what they've been doing pretty much all season. But to me, Dex, if you're worried about staying in this winner's bracket and not going to losers, this feels like a no-brainer. It feels like you have to ban the Winston.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, you might hold on to it for a map 5, but you need to get to map 5 first. And the Winston that
Exactly.
we've seen from Sword of Skill all series long has just been a difference maker for them. So I feel like that's almost a little bit of a no-brainer pick here for Celestial Knights. The only reason you would go off it is if you're trying to make a protection ban for something else.
Yeah, we'll have to see if that comes out to play. Maybe they're confident enough in their strategy to where they don't ban the Winston. They try to save it for map 5, but who knows as the clock is coming and Celestial Knights taking their time. And that's fine. Look, like I said, map bans can make or break, and not having the Soj last map really did affect Moonlight, and that came on a late ban. They're gonna ban the Cassidy. Maybe this is the protection ban for the Soj. But they can't ban Soj anyway.
It wouldn't matter because Source Hill's already banned them out here, and the only Cassidy I believe we've seen played so far has come from the side Celestial Knights. But right now, Source Guild, they have everything else here. And you are now banning to open up a lot for your team here, and honestly,
Yeah.
you might be going after that Orisa now.
Yeah, I mean, you can ban the Orisa here and make it really hard for Celestial Knights to break through. Because you can't ban the Diva. They already banned the Diva once. That's a rough ban. We're gonna see a Juno ban here. Okay, we haven't seen Juno all series. These are some interesting bans here, Dex. We haven't seen.
Yeah,
I don't think we've seen Juno once.
We haven't. Juno was banned out first map by Celestial Knights. We didn't see them there. We didn't see them on I forget what our second map was, the Watch Point, and then we didn't see him on King's Row. This feels like a ban this feels like a ban coming out here from Source Guild because you expect Celestial Knights to try to play the Juno on this map. Lucio has been popular with both teams so far, so I don't necessarily know why you would swap over to the Juno here. So again, this feels like you fully expect Celestial Knights to be making this Juno pick here.
Yeah, the cast ban is beyond confusing to me. I feel like even if you're not going to ban the Winston, you keep the cast to try to stun the dive and maybe, calm it down a little bit. But maybe it's because they're looking to play Winston themselves, because as we see, we've got some substitutions coming in here soon. And this might give us a little bit more of a clearer picture. We've got Bananas on the Winston. We saw him play Winston on Gibraltar. And we've got Lilac coming in on the DPS line here, taking Moonshine out. And maybe you're banning the cast because you. Sorry, not Moonshine. Sorry, I said Moonshine. Wow, I meant I meant Moon.
Yeah.
After hours
I mean,
Overwatch is getting me, bro.
Yeah, an interesting, like, Lilac could be a big difference maker on this map, but it's always one of those things where I say it's very, very questionable to be subbing in someone for the first time on a potential series ending map. Lilac is going to have to come in and set a tone very, very early on here, because you do not want them coming in cold, especially on this map here. Bananas are coming back in. I mean, we did see them play a Winston back on Watchpoint Gibraltar, but what was the biggest takeaway we had from that map? It was basically that the Winston battle in that case went to, they call him M, and it wasn't really close.
It wasn't close at all. So I think the only thing that I can really, make sense of your Celestial Knights, you got to put faith into your Winston player and trust that they do it better, maybe. Or maybe you have a completely different strat and you want to run the Queen Rush, which I can definitely see as well. And that cast ban would make a little more sense. You look to get rid of the cast so the cast doesn't negate the dive from the Tracer and Genji. It doesn't slow down the rush. And so I can kind of see that making sense. On the side of Sword of Skilled, you want to run the Hazard again. Why not? It worked for you around one. It worked for you well on Control. Now you just got to look to execute a little bit better here. And we'll have to see how it plays out as we get ready here on our first point of Saravasa.
Two late swaps coming out there. Annex now going over to the Venture and Dragon going over to the Sombra here. Those are two make or break picks in my opinion. If they struggle to find value, they're really going to struggle for the entire map, and Dragon getting taken out early. Big brain finding them out on this Moira pick. I really like it. Constant damage could be something that you definitely need here if you're Celestial Knights. Lilac, it's very low, but Annex finds Viral out. This is exactly what the Knights needed here on this first point.
Yes, it is. Just some authority and taking charge and just coming in, getting the kills early and just moving forward. Kiri typically does better in these brawl situations because she has the TP and the Suzu, so she has better survivability. But Moria, her upside is she can build ultimate very quickly. Good wall.
Lilac gonna get walled there to death. Now Hope looking a little bit worse for wear. Nice hack though. I mean, you're seeing Dragon come in and there's hacking members out there. They're calling out to Column M who needs to be dived on here. Annex gonna be able to find Dragon, but Viral comes right back in and finds him right back out. So a trade, an even trade across the board, and for the second straight time, the wall will find a pick. Now Celestial Knights just trying to stall this point out as long as they can. 65%, or no, 66% is what they get.
Yes, and the fights are going to be a lot scrappier naturally as both of these teams are running very fast and heavy compositions in terms of the brawl. We're going to see a bit of a battle here of the Pulse, and Column M building that Hazard ult so much quicker than the support ults. We'll have to see how quickly and aggressive he uses it.
And I mean, we saw them be very aggressive with it back on Li Jiang, where maybe it wasn't the best opportunity, but this is a good opportunity for it right there. Going to be able to find a couple in it, but I don't actually think they're going to be able to find any picks off, but instead, I mean, it's kind of being an even trade across the board. Banana's going to be able to open up there, finding Dragon, but I mean, you see Sword Skilled very low on health, now very low on members. They're just going to have to give the point over. They'll be able to take a second lead, but now Celestial Knights back in control.
Yeah, and Sword Skill's going to get another touch here, but it's going to be support ult versus support ult. We got Kitsune Rush versus the Pole Lessons. We've got the Pole still online, and we've got Bananas coming up on a Queen. We'll have to see. This next fight's going to be a little scrappy, but a huge wall.
Bananas, though, going to be able to be kept alive because of that Coalescence. Nice EMP onto that backline. Finds Big Brain out. Hope now still has his feet ready to go here, but they're no longer going to have it as Viral takes care of them. Sword Skilled going to be able to get the point flip here, and I mean, oh, I love this play. They're staggering out Bananas.
That was a huge stagger on the side of Sword of Skill. And then, their tank does get picked on the side of Celestial Knights, but I think they're going to find Annex here. And, yeah, you just lost all hope of touching. I don't think you can touch. Yeah, they're not even going to try. So,
nope,
they still go for it, actually.
But, I mean, they might get the point flip here. You see Dragon come back in, get the touch. However, I mean, you see the kills just going the way. Oh, that Rampage. You want that back. You want that back bad. Annex, though, I think at this case, at this point, the fight's basically lost. Just don't invest the Tectonic Shock.
Yeah, that would have been worst case scenario if they invested that Titanic shot. And yeah, maybe you want that rampage back. You did force out the beat, so now you can get Blade off for this point. So there's some silver lining there. Hope is gonna have his sound barrier for Column and Hazard ultimate. Celestial Knights, you just gotta play a lot quicker and more together, so you can pretty much make the walls from the Hazard a non-factor. If you separate, those walls are gonna come out quick, and you're not gonna be able to engage.
The Count Shock's coming out early, but there's another downpour coming out from Annex here. Gonna be able to find one. It's on to Hope, so no beat left anymore for the Knights. Blade coming out from Lilac here. They're just struggling to find anyone with there, but we'll be able to find Dragon. Finds Viral as well. I was saying they were struggling. Man, that was a really good struggle for them there. They'll be able to find Column M as well, and Celestial Knights, they'll be able to cap point here first. And because Hope died so early, they still have a beat.
They still have the beat for the potential Sombra ultimate, so you just have to play out of line of sight so you can get it off quickly enough. And for Celestial Knights, you got to look to build this Kitsune rush very quickly so you can go in very quickly. And there they are playing up aggressive. They don't want to give up any space here, Dex.
No, they don't, but they might have to just back up here a little bit. The Pulse Bomb, oh, it sticks on the Lilac, and they are taken out. Beat coming out here from Hope to keep everyone alive. Dub and Column M are being a little bit worse for wear at the moment, so they have to play safe. Sourcefield tries to get someone to just go straight to point, but you do see Annex right there, just holding ground. Hack coming out there, not going to be able to find anyone as Annex comes burrowing out of the ground. They're going to be able to use that dash to keep themselves alive here, but eventually there's just too much pressure out there from Sword Skill. They will fall. However, Celestial Knights, they're still very much in this fight. They're going to hold on to this point for as long as they can at this point here. Lilac Bananas looking very low. Bananas should fall here just as they get that Rampage online. And now, like I said before, Celestial Knights just looking to hold on for as long as they can, but they're going to pick there on the Column M, so anything might still be possible here.
I don't imagine they win this fight unless they pull it off here with late touches and... Oh my god, Dexatron, they actually pulled that off.
They did it. I mean, Annex coming back in was huge. Dub gonna be able to find one here, but there's just not enough health in their health pool to really keep this point alive. So Sora Skilled gonna have to give Celestial Knights the point here. We're tied 1-1 here on Surabasa.
I was sitting there thinking, maybe Dragon should not use the EMP because you're up, you have the advantage. But it actually kind of came back to bite them that they didn't use the EMP despite Hope using the sound barrier so early. But because Celestial Knights were able to rotate on the point, take turns, get the pick onto the Hazard, you're able to flip that point and win. But the silver lining for Sort of Skilled is that you have all 5 ults here versus Celestial Knights only, 3, maybe 4 at the end of it. But to see how they rotate them.
Rushes out from both sides right now. Watching for Dragon. That EMP could come online at any moment right here or be used at any moment right here. But the Rampage comes out. There's the EMP, finds 3, and oh, everyone is falling down for the Knights. Bananas will find Viral. But again, we're in a point here where Bananas just going to get staggered out as Column M is basically just playing an offensive lineman here, trying to absorb as much damage as they can. Bananas, though, was trying to go for a swim. I think they still went for it, but Dragon will get credit for the kill.
That's a crazy hack last minute to get the credit for the kill. Celestial Knights, they used a lot of ultimates, but Sort of Skilled, they used their Hazard, they used double support, they used EMP, they only have the Pulse Bomb here. Celestial Knights, they're coming up on the beat, they're coming up on the blade. You gotta look to press your advantage soon because you can't keep giving up so much percentage, and an early pick on the Dragon's gonna start that soon.
And you lose Ligmatos, Column M, not going to be much longer for this fight. You'll be able to get probably like 60% in this engagement or with this cap, but I mean, a costly mistake there early by Dragon, in my opinion, that just led to that fight loss.
It did, but the good part about that fight, if you're a Celestial Knights fan, if you're Celestial, is you don't have to use your ultimates, so you can come in with a blade here and force maybe a third and final fight here, but an early pick onto Lilac. I mean, what are these mistakes? They can't happen.
You got the hack that time. That was huge there. That was the thing that kind of messed them up last time. Dragon went for the hack on Lilac, just didn't find it, and you're going to be able to find Annex out here early on. You could invest the beat if you're Hope here to try to hold on this point, but no, you're going to get booped off the map, I believe, there. Now it's up to the rest of the Celestial Knights to see how long they can hold on to. Oh, I have to believe Column M might honestly be DCing right there. They just walked off the map.
They did, and now we're using the ultimate. I don't think we're still in this, but I think, unfortunately, because of ping, yeah, that's just a ping death. I mean, there's nothing you can do about that. You lose your tank. Celestial Knights kind of lucked out there and got kind of a blessing for their mistake. But yeah, huge hack from Dragon. to get Lilock caught out of position. And now we're looking at a final fight scenario. You've got the beat into the potential hazard ult. We'll have to see what they can even do as it's 90%.
Beat comes out early from Hope. You get the touch right there if you're M, but you're still looking for anything you can here. Overtime has commenced. There's the touch. Nice hack there onto Bananas, but not going to be able to really do enough. Rampage comes out, finds, well, it only finds M. But that is sometimes the only character you need to get rid of there. Big Brain will fall, so no Suzu ready for that side. Viral going to use the beat right here to try to keep Sword Skilled in this point. NX just doing a lot on this venture at the moment. Dashing into that backline. They're still contesting the point here right now. Hack back on Annex here. They're going to be able to keep themselves alive and burrow themselves safely into the ground. Tectonic Shock's coming out from them as Dub finds Bananas, but the Tectonic Shock going to be able to find one, but no, they don't touch!
The C9, I mean, everything was in their favor, Dexatron. You got ultimates out, you got the beat out, you got the rush out from the Queen. Sorry, you got the Queen ult out, you got the Teutonic plate, but they don't touch the point. That is a certified CGL C9. That hurts. That hurts. You gotta, I mean, you have to play perfect now if you're sort of skilled. You have to play perfect.
I mean, yeah, you got to here. But again, it's the thing where I just don't necessarily believe in this hazard. It just hasn't really found the value you've been truly looking for.
I agree, and you know, you're kind of getting huge EMP from the side of Dragon as we come into this fight here.
Only finds 2 though, and you're just seeing Column M get absolutely abused here. Now Kitsune Rush coming off from Big Brain. Column M not gonna be able to stay alive. Liquid Toes uses their Kitsune Rush, but they die immediately after it. This is again going back to the first map. Sora Skilled fumbling their ultimates.
They are fumbling their ultimates, and I was going to talk about the second to last fight on this last point. Hope used their ultimate a little too early, and I was going to talk about how Sort of Skilled had an ultimate advantage handed to them on a silver platter, but now they're giving the ult advantage over to Celestial Knights with how they're using their ultimates. And yeah, I agree, the hazard's getting tossed around, right?
Well, the Downpour is going to be able to find a couple this time around, and I mean, that should just be enough to win you this point outright here. You still need to find a couple more cleanup picks here, but Hope actually going to be investing the beat. You will get the point swap here if you're sort of skilled, and I mean, if you're Celestial Knights, I don't know how much longer you try to stay in this fight. You have a couple members that are trying to come back, but you lose Bananas. You're about to lose your backline. If you just go into, if any more members come in, they're just starting to feed.
Yeah, these sound barriers are really confusing me, Dexatron. Like, we're using sound barriers down 2, we're using sound barriers when we don't need to. It might come back to cost them as it's 40-40 here, and Sort of Skilled have a healthy ult advantage here as we go into this next fight here, Dexatron.
I mean, they do. That EMP is not that far away, but again, a Rampage and Blade could be deadly here for Sort of Skilled, so you have to be expecting that coming up here at any moment. But this is essentially final fight territory right now for this point. Celestial Knights, I mean, if you win it, you're back in control of this map here a little bit. Lilock has that Blade ready to go, but the Virus is going to be a little bit too much. Beat now coming out here from Viral as they're looking for more of that Rampage, though. Going to be able to find 3, and the biggest target there, Dragon and M taken out. However, Sort Skilled still holding on to the point, but the boop is going to be enough to keep them off the map or off the point. A nice play by Viral as now we go to a final winner-take-all point.
Huge play from Viral to get the boop to get them off of the point. That looked very winnable for Celestial Knights for a second. Getting the late Rampage off after the beat was used and getting some kills there. Now, if you're Celestial Knights, again, your season comes down to this point. You gotta look to play perfect. Guilty ultimate swinging your way, but Sort of Skilled. They got the EMP, they got the Kitsune, they got the Pulse. They almost have the hazard. It's looking very much in favor and looking very good for Sort of Skilled here.
Well, the season wouldn't technically be over for the Knights if they lose this map, but a huge EMP from Dragon finds 4. However, doesn't necessarily stop them from dying as they immediately die right there. Tectonic Shock's not going to find a lot there for Annex. Column M not going to be able to escape, and I think this will be the Knights taking the first cap here on our final point.
Yes, and Annex using the Teutonic plate, it kind of unintentionally, I don't know if it was on purpose or not, but negated the EMP because it kind of forced Sort of Skilled back, especially after getting Dragon killed so quickly and Column in low so fast.
Column M immediately went after Annex right there, trying to get them off the face of the earth. Kitsune Rush coming out from both sides right now, but M again instead of diving back out to get healed up, they just go back in, and that's going to cost them here. However, Source Guild, they get a point flip here.
That is a huge back cap from Dub. Just heads up play, realizing the fight was over, so I might as well go waste some time. That's going to take some of the momentum out of Celestial Knight's favor. Looking at Sword Skill, they've got the Pulse Bomb, they've got the Hazard, they've got the beat coming up, and Hope. This beat, man, it's on the line. You got to use it here. You got to use it well. You got to use it for that Hazard. You got to get it off quick enough. So we'll have to see. We're coming into final fight territory there next.
Annex trying to find anyone they can. Column M hit with that knife right there. Gonna just wait for it to go away. Pulse Bomb coming out. Not gonna be able to find anyone. There goes the downpour. Not gonna be able to find anyone. Instead, it's gonna be Column M falling there. So those two ultimates that you were talking about for Source Guild, wasted, gone by the wayside. And Celestial Knights, they're gonna be bringing us to a map 5.
They're going to be bringing us to a map 5. I felt it in my soul on those scrappy fights from map 1. Celestial Knights, despite, some stragglers coming in here as they clean it up. Here we've got Column touching last minute. We might be able to get the beat off here, so it is going to delay a little bit longer here, but you have to think eventually the picks are going to go in their favor. Assuming they can clean up, Viral and Column lived a little long there for a second.
Yeah, but eventually, I mean, they can only do so much here. You need a pick to go your way. You lose Viral. Here comes the tank shock out from Annex here. Bananas does have this rush or this rampage if they need it, but it's not going to be needed here. Celestial Knights bringing us to a winner-take-all map number 5.
And you got to be proud of yourselves, with how poorly Gibraltar and Kings Row went your way. You locked in. You made the substitutions, and Lilac looked good. I know we were down it a little bit on the Genji, but he looked really well on the composition they were running to 1. He was waiting all night, had his moment, and to his credit, he played well. Celestial Knights. Here's the thing now, though, is are you going to be able to ban the Winston? Assuming sort of skill takes us to a Winston map, I'm not really sure what's left in the pool. I know we have to pick push. I'm pretty sure it's do Queen Street and Ranasapi are on there. I would assume if you're wanting to run the Winston, you probably go Ranasapi. So the question becomes, Celestial Knights, are you even going to be able to ban that Winston? And if not, how do you play into it? I guess we'll have to see on the other side of the break. All credit to Celestial Knights, though, being able to take sort of skill 2 at map 5 here. This has been such an entertaining series to not only watch, but to cast X. And I'm very excited to see the other flip side of it.
And like I said, coming into this series, this Masters tier has been the most chaotic tier so far. A lot of upsets across the board. Why not have the number 1 overall seed? The team that has yet to lose an entire series this season, why not send them down to the lower bracket? It is certainly a possibility now, but I mean, if you're sort of skilled, you have the map pick, you have the first ban, everything is in your court here. So you're probably not worrying too much about it, but because we're going to be heading into a map 5 and we just played 2 maps, we're going to throw it over to a quick break and then come back with our final map of the night. Everyone, stick around. You're not going to want to miss it. We are in uncharted territory here. Well, maybe not us, but sort of skilled. They have yet to look down the barrel of a loss this season, but now it is staring at them. How do they respond here? The Celestial Knights, they have given us a series here, and not only have they given us one, they've forced a map 5. This bracket, like I already said, has been the chaos bracket. Why not add a little bit more to it now, as they have decided, or as SOS Guild has decided that our final map will be Esperanza.
Esperanza, and this was a pick that I kind of saw coming. You've been dominating on the dive all night. Why not keep it there? It's been working for you. It's been successful. But again, you're talking about this Masters tier bracket. It is chaos. It has been crazy. What a story it would be for Celestial Knights to send the #1 seed and sort of skilled down to the losers bracket. But I think if you're Celestial Knights, you're less worried on storylines right now, and you're more focused on winning this game and punching your ticket to the winners finals. They are one map away from the winners finals, and if you're sort of skilled, you're one map away from taking your first loss. They won the mid-season tournament. They're expected to win this, so you got to be perfect from here. We are going to Esperanza. They get the first ban. You have to assume they're likely going to protect that Winston and maybe ban something random tank like Sigma or Wrecking Ball, something that doesn't even matter, but just to keep the Winston on the board for you and your team. And I have to imagine if they don't, Celestial Knights, they're going to ban that Winston, surely.
Yeah, Celestial Knights. I mean, I actually think SOS Guild has the first ban here on our last map, and they could. Like I said, it's probably going to be a protection ban so they could have the Winston 100% guaranteed. And I mean, what do you do here? Do you do the Orisa? Do you do the Junk Queen we just saw? Do you go after some other tank here? Because you're definitely going to try to keep the Winston in the player pool this time around. That leaves the rest of the tank kind of lineup here left open. If we see anything outside of a tank ban here for SOS Guild, it means they have a confident feeling that no matter what it gets banned out here, they will win. But no, they're banning out the JQ, and I like this. The JQ gave them a lot of problems last map.
Yeah, they don't want to deal with that JQ anymore, and it also helps them keep the Winston on the board, so they can run the Winston, and this takes away a lot of options for Celestial Knights. Malga is a tank that you don't see a lot in these matchups, especially on maps like this, so I don't even know if you can go to that. The Diva is on the board, the Iris is on the board, but Esperanza is a very mobile area map. It's going to be hard for Orisa to get around, so we'll have to see. I think their ban will tell us a lot on what they plan on doing. I can't imagine it be DPS. Surely we go some sort of support here. Maybe something to try to deny. I'm wrong. These bans have just been crazy all night, Dex. We're banning the Tracer. I have to assume we have subs coming in, surely, right?
We probably do, but we did see SOS Guild Tracer find a lot of value last map, so not necessarily a big shock that the Tracer's being banned out here. And it does look like we will have some subs coming in for our final map of the night here. I believe for both teams, I believe we're having a sub. Nope, it's just going to be Celestial Knights making a sub here. When that screen pops up, we'll say who, but I mean, it's gonna be Moonlight coming back in. Lilac is gonna be backing out here again, and Lilac came in, they played excellently for their one map, and now it's gonna be Moonlight's coming back in. The Soj is back on the table.
Yeah, I think I've got a decent idea. They're gonna look to run the Lucio Kiriko Monkey with maybe even a Reaper Soj, or since the Tracer's banned, or maybe some sort of Cassidy. And you were talking about a Doug going crazy on that Tracer, but Doug's also been very good at the Genji and having Dragon, and they have so many utilities in terms of what kind of dive compositions they want to go to, and we're going to see and find out as soon as we get into this map here, but I have to imagine they've run the Soj with Moonlight, and they look to go some sort of dive, brawl, rush combination, especially because Veneda's staying in at tank. We're not bringing in Master Rhino. We haven't seen the Orisa out of anyone else but him, so likely going to see the Winston as we load up on Esperanza here, but both teams could punch a ticket to winners finals with a win here. You have to imagine it would mean a lot more for Celestial Knights to pull off this upset. Only time will tell. We're going to have a winner here in about 10 minutes time. give or take decks as we load into Esperanza and as we get the team comps going. Very fun series to watch thus far.
Yeah, these two teams have been putting on a hell of a show, and this is kind of what we exactly expected from Sora's Guild, and on the other side, Celestial Knights. It's what we expected. I think, though, we've seen in the past that Bananas has struggled into Column M's Winston when they're playing this Ramatra. However, Annex on this venture has been a blessing, I think, for the Celestial Knights team. It caused a lot of problems last map. It might cause a lot of problems again this map.
Only time will tell as we get in here. I like the Ramatra in the Venture Peak. It disrupts the dive a lot if you play it well. Moonlight on that Soj, we saw what he did on map 1. He gets it back on map 5. We'll have to see if he can recreate some of that magic. I feel like this is going to come down to support lines. Which support lines can live the most and which can out-sustain the dive and aggression from each other's tanks.
Yeah, and you see Source Guild. They're going to play very cautiously here. They don't really necessarily want to engage too hard in. They want to go for that backline. That's exactly what they do here. Nice dive in there by Column M. Going to be able to help Dub find Hope outright there. Still, Trey's going across the board. Dragon going to be able to find Moonlights out, but that's the nail in the coffin right there. Bananas falls, Annex, and now Big Brain looking for their exit, and it's going to be via death.
And one thing I have to compliment sort of Skilled on, although they played lights out all night long, their pinches and the dive exchanges that they set up, you've got 2 coming from behind, 2 coming from the front, all over the place. I mean, it's impossible to see them, and they execute it so fast and so quick. I can tell it's a discipline that they have gotten that has separated them from the rest of the teams. If you're Celestial Knights, you got to play together, you got to go quick, and you got to look to outlive the dive exchanges from sort of Skilled just to get any success with the composition that you're running.
M trying to focus in and there on someone, but they went a little bit too close to the sun. Dub gonna be able to find Big Brain, but you lose Viral as well out there. I mean, that bot hasn't really moved that much from when this fight started, so if you're sort of skilled, you're not necessarily feeling the worst about this fight here. Finding Moonlights out would be a little bit of an add bonus right there. Dub does find them, and they could find Bananas as well. Oh, it's falling apart there for the Knights.
Yeah, you gotta have the peel for your DPS there. Both supports just left Moonlights. Pretty much said, you gotta win that 1v1, and they didn't. Dub got the better end of it, hopping off on the Genji like we've expected him to, and now sort of Skilled is building point progress on a fight that they initially lost.
Yeah, I mean, it's those light couple picks from Dub being a huge difference here. You should see Celestial Knights come back out and contest this before they get to these first point here and get these forward spawns. But, I mean, Sora Scale, they could pop some ultimates here early on and make Celestial Knights fight a little bit of a problem here. Overclock ready for Dragon. Not going to be able to use it just yet. A nice shield by Bananas, keeping that disrupting shot on the high ground. But you see Sora Scale just jump up to the high ground. Not necessarily wanting to fully engage the fight just yet.
Not quite yet, but now they want to. They're going to pull the trigger with that Suzu out, and they're going to look to try to get some kills. Moonlight almost taking the dome off of Dragon, who's not able to get anything off of Zoj.
Bananas just eats one of those overclocks right there to the face. Not going to be able to find the kill just yet, but Dub pops the blade, and we've seen them have huge blades in the past. 2 kills going the way this time around, and it's exactly what you're looking for if you're sort of skilled. Now, just clean up the rest, and these forward spawns should be yours. But Celestial Knights, I mean, yeah, they invested the Kitsune Rush into that fight. They're going to come back in with 4. However, like I said, forward spawns should be in the hands of Source Guild.
Definitely there, and sort of Skilled using all the ultimates in exchange for forward spawn is kind of a good trade there, because you get to you can push back if you need to, you can play that high ground if you want to, you can rotate it constantly. You only have the primal rage here. Celestial Knights, you got to win a few fights just to catch up, especially with the forward spawn. So we're gonna have to see how they rotate these ultimates here.
I mean, right now, Column M, it's been a constant thing for them. They've gone very low early on a lot of these fights. So they're just going to have to dive out of it. Looks like the entirety of Source Skill just going to dive back up to this high ground and just wait. I mean, Celestial Knights, they have the ultimates here. They could hit that go button at any time right now. Nice boop by, I believe that was Viral to get Annex off that high ground, back down to that low ground. They're going to come burrowing out at some point here. Annex getting low. The Suzu going to be invested there to keep him alive. Tectonic Shock now out from them as they look for anyone, but they struggle to find a lot of damage. Now the Annihilation coming out here from Bananas, and that's also struggling to find anything. Annex will find one towards the end, but now Calm M pops that Primal Rage. Going to be able to find a trade out there. Dragon will fall to Bananas as that Primal Rage really not going to find much here, but M does find Hope towards the end of it here, and I mean, those couple picks right there are going to be able to keep the forward spawns in control of Source Guild here for a brief moment.
Yeah, the peel to just ignore the Ramantra ultimate as well as the feature. And then they only used one ultimate, and Coleman, he got two. Like you said, the picks to keep him in this fight and to keep the forward spawn. They still haven't lost it yet. Or maybe they did, and now they're coming back. I'm not entirely sure. But looking at it, Celestial Knights, you still have somewhat of an ult advantage, but so does Skill. They closed the gap very well on that last fight.
Yeah, they did, but support ultimate's ready for Celestial Knights here early on. You could see them use it, and they're going to do that right there. Ligmatos bonds with their own Kitsune Rush here as well, so both Kitsus out early on, but Annex going to be the first one to fall. Beat now out from Viral as Sorta Skilled looks to clean up this fight, get control of the bot again, and add on to their lead.
Yeah, and one great discipline on the side of Sorta Skilled is they're not necessarily forcing the fights onto the point. You know, they have the forward spawn, they have the lead, they don't necessarily need to push. The only times they've gotten a lot of chunks from pushing is once the fights have been over, Celestial Knights have been sent back to spawn here. And now Celestial Knights, they can't give up much more ground. They know this, and they're looking to play more aggressive.
Overclock out here from Moonlights, and it doesn't find anything. It builds some space, but Dub finds Bananas out here early on. The beat now coming out here just to keep Celestial Knights in this fight. The blade will kind of fade away, not really finding a lot here. Annex, though, closer to Tectonic Shocks. It wouldn't surprise me if the moment they get it, they pop it off here, especially finding Dub out, but it seems like M should be able to find them out here. Viral going to be able to take that one away from them, but still, Sword Skilled playing this map like you see a lot of other teams play it. They get those forward spawn points and then just kind of wait for every fight to happen while they fall back.
Yeah, the peel has been fantastic on the side of Sword Skilled. Celestial Knights haven't been able to get any sort of ultimates going. Dragon going forward with the Soj ult, just demanding space because if they peek, it's going to take your head off, and they're getting more card push because of this.
NX does have this Tectonic Shock ready to go here. They can pop it off at any moment now, but they just need to find the value with it. Here it comes out, but it's just struggling to find anything here. They're trying to get rid of Calm M, but it will force out the Primal Rage here from them. They're throwing left and right hooks at whoever they can see right now, but they're very low on health, and they have to try to think of some exit strategy here. They get out with, I believe, 17 health as Dub finds Annex, and that just might be enough to keep M alive. Nope, Hope made sure they died there. They hunted them down, but you still see Sword Skilled finding some picks here again, as I mean that's kind of been the theme of this entire map for them. Late in fight, when it's already over, they continue to somehow find picks.
Yeah, and the picks that Celestial Knights are going to favor them a lot more here as the spawns are closer. But yeah, I mean the DPS line of Sword Skilled is just keeping Sort of Skilled in these fights, even when they don't necessarily need to. And now you look at the ult economy, you got the Blade coming up, you got double support ult, Celestial Knight, not many, but an early pick onto Banana, onto Viral certainly does help.
But Sword Skilled, I mean, they might still try to contest here a little bit to make sure the forward spawns don't go away so Viral can get back. Actually, no, they should get those forward spawns here, so they're not going to be giving up a lot of space here before our next fight.
They're going to give up a good amount of space knowing how much cart push they already have. They don't have to force any sort of fights or initiative yet. They can just take their time, play for positioning, play for ultimates, and hopefully get the better exchange out of it.
Banana's going to be able to find Dragon out here early on. Big Brain uses that teleport to get away. Now Bananas tries to dive up on that high ground, pops the Primal Rage here, trying to go after Viral, and they're going to be able to find them here. This is the slippery slope with this map, though, if you're Sword of Skilled. You do not want to necessarily lose this fight here, especially with only Celestial Knights investing that one ultimate.
Yeah, that's going to be a late stagger onto Lick My Toes, and Dragon going to be able to pick off Moonlight, who's been a little bit quiet as the series has gone on. We need to see a little bit more of him if they want a chance of coming back into this, although Banana is doing his best. With a pick onto the Genji here, don't feed though. He recognizes that and he gets out. The ult management still in the favor of Sword of Skilled, although Celestial Knights with these fight wins have been able to kind of close the gap a little bit.
They got the forward spawns right now. Kitsune Rush coming out here for Big Brain. I mean, you look at Sword Skilled, they have 4, almost 5 ultimates ready to go, but they lose M! You have to fall back now if you're Sword Skilled. You have to give up a decent chunk here of meters.
It looks like to me, at this point, Sword of Skilled, what they're just playing for is stacking ultimates and just playing for one more fight. But the reason this might come back to bite you is because Celestial Knights are coming up on theirs. I mean, yeah, they used the opportunity to win that, but they have almost caught up in virtually everything else, and yep, they're looking to press the button now.
every ultimate on the field coming out, and surprisingly, no one died. Overclock coming out from Moonlights, no one's gonna die to that. It's gonna be Hope falling here first, sort of skilled. I mean, this is exactly how you want this fight to go. Yeah, you didn't find anything with your ultimate, but you're finding everything after it. 18 seconds left on the clock. If you keep this cart in control, the map will end. M finds one, and so does Viral. Now all you have to do is get rid of Bananas, and sort of skilled. They're gonna be able to take this map, deny Celestial Knights, finding this win here, continuing the upset. But wait, no, we do see a touch here. Oh, but Dragon shuts them down. Do the Knights get any more touches? No. Sort of skilled. This might be their wake-up call here in this playoff run. They are now vulnerable, but they're able to come out of this one here tonight with a victory. They'll move on to the winners finals.
They will, and it's only fitting that Sort of Skilled, after a dominant season they've had thus far, makes it to the winter finals to play, I believe, the winner of, I believe they'll probably go on to play Low Ground Main if I saw the bracket correctly. We might have to fact check that. But I mean, the DPS play is huge for Sort of Skilled all night tonight. Dub on that Genji looked fantastic. M on that Winston just looked lights out. I felt like every time we were on his POV, he was doing something. He was never really stagnant. I mean, what a boop from Bananas early on there on that Lucio. But I was really, if you're Celestial Knights, you shouldn't be too disappointed with this loss. You proved that, like you said, the #1 seed, the Big Bad Monsters, they can bleed. And I feel like, you go back, you VOD this kind of game, you see what you did wrong. You plan to play them again, and you make the necessary adjustments, and you beat them next time. So, but yeah, if you're Sort of Skilled, this is definitely some sort of wake-up call. You gotta be cleaner in your execution. You've got to anticipate any team can have a good day. You can't take your team off, and you gotta look to just play smarter and up to the level that you expect to play at, being the expectations you've set for yourself already through the season so far.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Celestial Knights, though, give them a lot of credit. They made this a very, very fun and interesting series, almost coming back there in Esperanza. And, like, Sort of Skilled, yeah, they were building up to all 5 of those ultimates, but we have seen them in the past just kind of waste ultimates, not find the value. And I almost thought that's what we were going to see there, but, I mean, all the ultimates came out there at the end, and they found 0 kills. Like, we saw 7 ultimates come out, and no kills came from them. So again, it was just smart plays by both teams. They're very late on that final map, but Sort of Skilled, they keep their upper bracket run alive. They will go on to face Low Ground Main in the winners final, and Celestial Knights, they'll drop down that lower bracket, and they're gonna have a fun time down there. This lower bracket is one you're not gonna want to miss. Like I said, this has been the chaos bracket for a reason. The NA Masters tier is putting on a show, because at this point, even though Sort of Skilled hasn't yet to lose a series all series long, they're vulnerable now, and I feel like people are starting to figure them out here a little bit, and it's coming at the right time for the rest of the tier.
Exactly, and talking about that lower bracket, I'm excited to see Fellowship Esports and Celestial Knights potentially play each other, given the fact that they've both had incredible runs thus far. Just the amount of talent on each and every team has been overwhelming in all the best ways possible. Very proud of all the teams thus far in the tier. And we're just going to have to see how the rest of it develops as we move further into the bracket.
Yeah, I mean, you see the maps right here. Very close throughout this entire series. There wasn't any map that was really one-sided, maybe other than Watch Point Gibraltar. Sort of Skilled really did show their stuff there in that map. But after that, I mean, Sarabasa went 5 maps, or all 5 points. Kings Row was close as well. I mean, this was a very, very good series between 2 teams. And Celestial Knights, they got that upset in the first round, made it very interesting here in the second round, just not able to finish the upset again. And when you look at the bans, I mean, outside of map 1 and map 2, we were kind of questioning the bans a little bit. Map 5, the bans made a lot of sense going back to it. But, I mean, maps 1 and maps 2, we like the bans from both sides. Maps 3 and 4, we kind of questioned them. They had the opportunities to maybe be a little bit better. But, again, I feel like they all kind of fit what the maps were.
Yeah, and I mean, you made an excellent observation with that Ramatra ban and that Diva ban. Just to preserve the Winston and make sure that it couldn't be taken off the board for the side of Sort of Skilled. And that's just to me, Celestial Knights, that 3 and 4 map slot, that's a ban that feels like kind of got away from me at some point. I feel like maybe on King's Row, you're not expecting the Winston because it's such a broad map, but who knows what would have happened if you had used your ban on that instead, given the fact that you had the first ban. So I understand why they banned the cast, given the fact they were playing the JQ Rush. That made sense to me. But yeah, I feel like that's a ban that kind of slipped out of your fingers a little bit. Who knows how that map would have gone otherwise. You got to give credit where credit's due. Colin looked great today on the Winston. Pretty much every single map he played it. He looked great on other tanks as well. The Hazard had its moments. The Ramatra did well as well. So very well-rounded teams altogether. I could see the moments where Sort of Skilled, looked by far the greatest team in this tier. But, to your point, I think it is evident by now, if it wasn't before, that these other teams in the bracket are starting to figure them out just a little bit more with every match. If you're low ground, watch this game, study this game. Celestial Knights just gave you the best tape you could have ever on what works and what doesn't, and go from there.
Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, it's been an action-packed day here in CGL. 4 great series. And I mean, as the day went on, they got more and more competitive. 2 3-0s to start the day. But then RRG and Big T-Tar Fan took us 4, and our final series of the day took us 5. 4 games today, and they were all very, very good. But y'all, just because there were 4 today doesn't mean there's going to be a lot of more action. There's not going to be that much tomorrow. We still have a lot going on in CGL, and especially over in Kunoichi Cavalry. We have our grand finals happening tomorrow. Make sure you tune into those, because like I said at the start of the show, this Kunoichi tournament has been incredibly fun to watch and incredibly competitive. Make sure you tune in tomorrow for those grand finals. And as well, after Kunoichi wraps up, we'll still have some playoffs here to play in CGL. But next month, May 14th, I believe, no, May 16th, Copa America will be going on. You see they're broadcasting in those 3 languages of English, Portuguese, and Spanish, as well. Peru, Brazil, Chile, and Argentina are going to be competing in it. It's going to be a fun time, and you're not going to want to miss out on that action. Again, May 16th for that one there. But everyone, we will not be having an interview here tonight, and I know that's probably not the best thing for some of you guys, because this was a very, very fun series. But it is late. We're running on a little bit of a weird setup here for this game, but that's going to pretty much do it for us. Vert, thank you so much. I want to give a quick shout out to Hippie and Mara for doing everything behind the scenes, but that'll do it for us here tonight in CGL. But make sure you tune in tomorrow for even more CGL and Kunoichi action. Good night, y'all.